And oh my god, that was like the most disturbing shit. Like, I don't even want to look at it. I don't even want to talk about it. Oh my god, what the fuck? What? Oh my freaking gosh. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like repulsed. Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm so excited to be starting another reading vlog that is going to be dedicated to reading Japanese thriller and horror books. I'm very excited to start on this project because I've been wanting to do a video like this for a while. If you didn't know, in the month of March, I did a video kind of similar to this where I read Korean thriller and horror books, and that video was insanely fun. I feel like I always learn new things and experience new things with reading thriller and horror books that come from other countries, and the month of May just seemed like the perfect time to do a video like this because if you didn't know, May is actually AAPI Heritage Month, which stands for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And so I'm so excited to give some Japanese books a go, and from what I've heard, like I've always heard that Japan is like the top tier horror, like some of the best horror books come from Japan and like horror in general. So that's why I'm especially excited for this because I am just expecting great things, and some of these books have been on my TBR for freaking years. Like, I've been waiting so long to get to some of these. The first book that I'm going to be reading for this video is Battle Royale. This is a Japanese book that's kind of like a classic thriller book. It came out in 1999, and then it also had a movie adaptation that came out shortly after in 2000, I think. And this one, it kind of describes itself as like a Lord of the Flies for the 21st century because the premise of this book is that it's a thriller that follows a class of junior high school students that they're taken to a deserted island where, as part of a ruthless authoritarian program, they're provided arms and forced to kill one another until there's only one survivor left standing. This shit sounds crazy, and I feel like this book probably inspired so many things that we know and love, like The Hunger Games comes to mind, Squid Game. It definitely gives me Squid Game energy with that premise. And so very excited to finally get to Battle Royale in this video because this is a long time coming. I'm also so excited because during this video I'm going to be trying some manga for the very first time, and who else would I be reading other than Junji Ito? I've heard such great things about him and such great things about his books, and so I'm going to be reading two of his manga collections in this video. So we have Uzumaki, which is probably, like, if I had to say one that's like his most popular book, it would probably be this one. I hear about it all the time, and this one just says Spiral into Horror on the on the cover here. And this one basically just follows this town that gets, contaminated by spirals, that gets obsessed with spirals, and I don't know, it sounds like it's gonna be interesting. I've just heard really good things about this one from my friends especially, and this one is one that has been on my TBR for freaking years, like probably since 2018 or 2019, is when I first heard about this book and I was intrigued. And then I also got Shiver as another one of his collections, and this one is actually short story collections. From what I understand, there's 9 short stories within this collection. And something that I think that is interesting about Japanese manga, I don't know if that's only the case for these books or if it's, all of manga is this way, but it's almost like backwards, or like it reads backwards from typical books that you read. So like you actually start in the back of the book here and then you read them in like reverse. Like, I'm gonna have to figure this out, But yeah, very excited for Shiver, very excited for Uzumaki. I'm just, oh my god, I'm so hyped about reading these books because I've just been wanting to read them for so long. Like, it's finally happening. And then lastly, the fourth book that I'm gonna be reading for this video is a book called Penance by Kane Minato, and this is one that I was really intrigued and I really wanted to read because last year I actually read Confessions by this author, which is probably their most popular and most well-known book. I'm pretty sure Confessions was the first Japanese thriller that I had ever read, and I really enjoyed Confessions. Like, if you haven't read Confessions yet, highly recommend checking that one out because it's freaking incredible. I'm so excited to check out another book from this author. This one also gets highly recommended, and I do have the audiobook for this one from my library, so that's going to be how I'm listening to this. And this one, the description just says, a chilling Japanese psychological thriller about 4 women forever connected by one horrible day in their childhood. 15 years later, someone wants to make sure they never forget. So, you know, it seems like we have that trope where, you know, we get to see what happened when they were younger and then it takes place 15 years later and we kind of maybe go back and forth. I don't know. But this one, it sounds interesting and this author is amazing. This audiobook is only 7 hours, so it is pretty short, so I shouldn't have any trouble getting through it. You know, I think it'll be a quick read, but I'm just so excited to check out more from this author, you know, but after loving Confessions so much, I'm a fan, so I want to read more, so I'm excited to finally get the chance to read more. I also thought it would be fun because in my Korean thriller and horrors reading vlog that I did decide to include one young adult title in that book, you know, just to lighten the mood. And so I checked out Tokyo Ever After by Miko Jean, and this one is a young adult novel that follows this young girl who's Japanese. I believe, yeah, so she's Japanese American in her small, mostly white Northern California town, and she's raised by her single mother. Then she discovers a clue to her previously unknown father's identity, and he's none other than the Crown Prince of Japan. So this just sounds like it'll be a really cute time. I checked this book out from my library, and I do have the audiobook from my library, so I'll probably be listening to that when I need to take a break from all of like the thriller and the horror this week. But I'm so excited to, you know, finally get to this one. This one looks so freaking cute. I just saw it at my library and I was like, what is that? And the premise kind of gives me like Princess Diaries vibes. So I'm just very here for this, very excited. So yeah, these are all of the books that I want to be reading this week. I'm really excited to, you know, just dive right in to some Japanese literature and just live my best life, hopefully. So yeah, I've decided to start with Shiver, so let's go ahead and cut to it, shall we? Okay, so I've read the first 2 short stories in this collection, and the second short story was called Shiver, like it's the one that's kind of like based, that this whole thing is like based on, and oh my god, that was like the most disturbing shit. It was such effective horror, and it was kind of like body horror, and if you've ever had like a fear of like, you know, like holes in your skin and like there's this whole thing with like bugs and like holes in your skin and just like, oh my god, I'm sure you can imagine just by like how I'm saying that, like it was so gross, so disturbing, and like I'm here for this. Like this is gross horror, but I'm like obsessed with it. Like I love it. Like this is some of the imagery that I'm talking about, like freaking holes in your skin. Like, oh, freaks me out. That shit freaks me out. Also, the way that this is told is interesting, you know, because it took me a minute to, like, understand how to read this, at least, like, the order, because, you know, typically when you're reading, you know, any regular graphic novel, you start reading over here, and then you kind of read it this way, but it's a little confusing to learn, but I think I've figured it out now, is that it starts on this side of the page, and then you work kind of like backwards through the page, or at least backwards from what I'm used to. But yeah, I'm enjoying this experience. This is my first technical manga novel that I've ever read. I've read a lot of graphic novels, but I don't think I've read anything that's manga yet, so this is exciting. Hello, it has been a couple of hours. It's now 11:30 at night, but the night has been going very well. I've still been reading quite a bit of Shiver. I actually have about like 150 pages left, and most of the short stories have been really good. Like, there's been a couple of misses for me and some that just don't really do it for me, but I still think the concepts are very strong. But I'm planning on finishing this right now, just like laying in bed and finishing it. And yeah, it's been a really great night. It's just been me, my dad, and my sister here at the house, and we made some chicken chow mein, which was really good. It was the Trader Joe's. Like, you already know, if you were on this channel, you already know that I'm obsessed with the Trader Joe's, chicken chow mein. So we had that for dinner. It was amazing. And yeah, now we're here. It's already 11:30 at night, and I'm going to finish Shiver. It's the next morning and I'm so excited to let you know that last night I finished up Shiver, and this book was such a freaking trip. Like, I am so glad that I read this because I've been saying so often that I love reading short story collections lately, especially when it's like horror, because I feel like horror is one of those rare genres that really thrives in the short story format because you don't need a long story to have a creepy, scary time, you know? And this collection was so creepy. Like, there were definitely some hits for me and there were some misses, but even the short stories that were misses, I still thought that they were really cool ideas. They just didn't really work for me personally, but I still thought the concepts were there and the concepts were interesting and they were strong. My personal favorite short stories in this collection are Shiver, which is, you know, the one that this whole thing is named after, and also The Long Dream. Oh my gosh, because okay, Shiver actually made me like shiver when I read it, because oh my gosh, the imagery is so disturbing. Shiver is mainly about, you know, these people that are getting this illness where you get like holes in your body. Oh my god, it's one of the most like grotesque body horror things that I've ever seen. We're talking kind of like this dude on the cover right here. You see all these holes on his face, like, oh my god, I can't. And then I think the concept of The Long Dream, that one's probably my favorite concept that's involved in this, because it's really interesting because, you know, as someone who's really fascinated by dreams and like psychology and the mind, I think it's so interesting because that short story was kind of about how these people are dreaming for a longer period of time. So like when they go to bed at night, it's only one night, but then when they wake up, they think that a year has passed or something like that, and their dreams are like a year long. But it starts small, you know, it starts with like, it feels like a month has gone by, and then it feels like a few months, and then a year, and then even more years, and then it's like getting out of control, and they're kind of scared that like, they're like, what if I don't wake up tomorrow because it's been like thousands of years in my dreams. That one was really trippy, really cool. I just really loved the idea of it, like absolutely fascinating. And then there was one towards the end called Honored Ancestors, and that one also just like really got to me, like really got under my skin. It was so creepy. If you see this like giant thing on the cover right here that looks like a giant caterpillar or something, that is involved with that story, and I was just like so disturbed. Like, oh, it was so disgusting, but like in a good way. It was like genuinely so creepy. Like the imagery, I was like, I could barely even look at it because I was like, what the fuck? Then one of the very last stories was called Greased. And like, oh my god, this short story was disgusting. It was disgusting. disgusting. I could barely tolerate it. I was like, ugh. Like, if you don't like, well, I think you might like it if you're the kind of person that can like pop their own pimples and stuff, because it's definitely something of that nature, but I can't. I hate the like pimple popping thing. I hate it. I just, like, I don't even want to look at it. I don't even want to talk about it. And it was so gross. It was so gross. But like, it was good, you know? It was so freaking good. And I don't know, I'm so glad that I wanted to start off with this one, because I just think that this author, like, his ideas are just so unique, so different. I've never read anything like this before, and I just can't wait to read more from this author. I know he has a few other collections similar to this, and you know, I am reading one of his other books in this video, so like, I'm just so excited. Like, let's freaking go. I think I'm gonna end up giving this one like a 4 out of 5, just because it's hard for me to rate you know, collections of short stories like this, because, you know, as I said, some of them were pretty like misses for me. Like, some of them I didn't really enjoy, but then the ones that I really enjoyed them. So it's like, it's hard for me to give this anything higher than a 4, because it's like, you know, as I said, there are some that I didn't really enjoy, but wow, I would still definitely recommend reading this if it sounds at all interesting to you. It is definitely vivid and gory and graphic, and it's time. It's a time. But yeah, I'm super excited about it, and I think I just have to film a video today, and then I think I might start on Battle Royale next. I think that might be the move. And also, I think my friends Marcy and Mike are both also reading Battle Royale this month, so we might do a cute little buddy read or something. I did want to let you know that I did start Battle Royale. I only got, you know, 1 chapter deep, so I'm only like 34 pages in. But so far, this is super interesting. And, you know, the premise of this, it does say it's kind of like Lord of the Flies for the 21st century. And right at the start of this book, like the opening little thing that we see is a list of about 42 students, which is honestly like a tad overwhelming, you know, because like, look at this. We literally just have a list of names, and it's like 21 girls, I think, and 21 boys, and it's like a lot. I'm kind of like, holy shit, like, do I need to take note of who all these characters are? Like, this is so many characters. Not gonna lie, the first chapter was a little intense, because, you know, we just get some opening remarks talking about like what Battle Royale is, and then we get a prologue, and then the first chapter, well, there's chapter 0 that starts it, and then there's chapter 1. So like, I only read chapter 0, I didn't even get to chapter 1 yet, but I'm already really intrigued. But something that I will say is that it's so hard to follow along in this book, because I don't know if it's because it's translated or if I have like a different version of the audiobook, but it doesn't match perfectly with this physical copy. Like, the wording is just slightly different, but it's to the point where it makes it kind of confusing and hard to follow along, because he'll like change the placement of the words. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, maybe I'll try to show you later on in the book what I'm saying, but it's kind of confusing and hard to follow along with the physical copy. But I do think the translation in this physical copy is kind of hard to understand. It's like English, but it's like the English isn't very good. Because I guess what I'm trying to say is that the audiobook, it flows a lot better in English, you know what I'm saying? Like, this kind of feels like really awkwardly translated, like this isn't really how people talk, you know? And then they changed it on audio, so that the audiobook, it does sound like how people usually speak English. So like, it's kind of hard to follow though, because the text is a little bit different from like what he's saying on the audio, so I'm trying to comprehend like what's happening in the story, and then also trying to follow along as much as I can in the book, but I feel like that might be a little confusing. But so far, like, just that chapter 0 was giving me major Squid Game vibes. I mean, I know I'm gonna probably get a comment about this, but I do know that Battle Royale came before Squid Game, okay? Because Squid Game is very recent. But like, it was just so interesting, you know, we have these like 42 students who were on this bus, and I think it's saying that they thought that they were going to like a school event or something like that, and then they didn't realize that like the bus took a different route and it's taking them somewhere suspicious, and it's just kind of mysterious. Like, the students are trying to figure out like what's going on, and you know, they're all a bunch of middle schoolers. Parents all got these letters from like the government basically letting them know they probably want to never see their kids again, and like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, that is some twisted shit, and I'm here for it. And at the very end of the chapter, it just says 42 students remain, and so I have a feeling it's just going to be like, you know, cutting down on how many kids there are once like the murders start happening, because, you know, I'm expecting this to be very like, I don't know, it kind of does feel like Squid Game energy, which is exciting because I freaking love Squid Game. If you didn't know, it was my #1 favorite show of last year, so I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's gonna be really fun. Because it's 11:30 right now, I think I'm just gonna read a tad bit more, like maybe like an hour. I'm probably gonna read for like the next hour, and then I'm probably gonna hit it and call it a night.
Taking a ride to journey 눈치 보면서 들어가 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들 시간만 지나가 자신감 가지고 해와 그냥 천천히 들어가야 해 어쩔 때는 무작정 들이밀기만 하지만 그런 거랑 차이가 있어 baby 동선을 타고 난 날아올라 동선을 타고 난 날아
Good morning! Last night I got up to part 2 of this book, which puts me at about 120 pages in, so I honestly feel like I've barely even made a dent in this entire story, but oh my freaking gosh. I feel like, I don't want to jinx it, you know, like I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like this could be a 5-star book for me. Like I am obsessed, which is so random and so unexpected. Like I wasn't expecting to love this one as much as I am, but I don't know, this feels like a combination of a lot of things that I love. I mean, this book just starts like right away, like, you know, like no bullshit. It just jumps right into it. And this game and this program is just so fascinating. You know, there's like this teacher at the start. They let all the kids know that they have been selected for this program, which is, I guess, like a common program that they have in Japan, in this world. And it's when they like randomly select a group of a middle school class to compete in this program where they're all gonna have to basically fight to the death. You know, they're all gonna have to kill each other. You know, the teacher lets them know that they are on an island that has been evacuated, so like they're the only ones on the island, and as soon as they leave the school, the game starts and they're gonna have to all kill each other. They're only like being supplied with a backpack that has like some food and water in it and a random weapon, so they don't even know what weapon they're gonna have. Like some kids have guns, some kids have knives, some kids have like random shit. It's just so fascinating. And there's also this rule that's like, if none of the kids kill within 24 hours, then they're all gonna get killed, because they have these like collars around their necks. So like if they try to flee the island, the collar's gonna explode and kill them. It's very like Suicide Squad vibes in that sense too. I feel like I can tell that a lot of things have been inspired by Battle Royale, like Suicide Squad. It also just reminds me so much of Squid Game in the way that it's like they're all gonna fight until there's one left standing, basically. But it also does kind of remind me of All of Us Are Dead in a way too, which is one of my favorite Korean Netflix shows, because of the way that they're all like young school kids, you know, like it feels kind of similar in that sense. I know there's no zombies or anything, but like the way it's kind of like a brutal, hard world, and it's like they're all really young students. I mean, these kids are in middle school, so they're very young. But it seems like our main character is this boy named Shuya. He seems like he's the main one that we're following, and so naturally I'm picturing my boy Chong-sun, you know, from All of Us Are Dead. Like that's just where my brain goes. I'm like, okay, like if I'm casting these characters, that's who I'm thinking of for this main character. But it immediately made me invested in the story, and I'm slowly starting to pick up on who like the main characters are, because, you know, as I said at the beginning, it's kind of overwhelming when they just like give you a list and you're just like, okay, like whose names am I supposed to be remembering? But it's pretty like obvious which characters are going to end up being like the main characters in this story once you get a feel for it. But like, I just love it. Like the writing is just so graphic and intense, and it just like jumps right in. I mean, like I said, there's no filler at the start. There's no real like, you know, boring character introductions. It's just like bam. And I feel like today I'm going to try to read a good chunk of it. Me and my sister, we do have plans to like go to the gym later today and make some mac and cheese at the house, and then also try to finish watching Severance later tonight. But until those plans with the gym and stuff, I have about 3 hours to kill, so I think I'm gonna try to read quite a bit more of Battle Royale today. friends, how's it going? It's the end of another really productive day. This afternoon I spent quite a good chunk of time reading Battle Royale, and I got exactly up to page 300. And then, you know, my sister and I, as I mentioned, we went to the gym, we made mac and cheese, we finished watching Severance, which, like, holy shit. Okay, holy shit, I didn't even know if I was into that show really at the start of it, and then towards the end, I got so invested, and I can't believe the cliffhanger at the end of season 1, like, I just can't believe it. I was, like, shaking, so excited, it was so good. But anyways, yeah, I got, you know, 300 pages into Battle Royale. I've just been, like, freaking flying through this book because it's so good, it's so freaking addicting, and I'm just, like, obsessed, and I can't wait to see where it's going. It's just amazing. Like, there was a plot twist that I tabbed that I, like, did not see that coming. I was like, wait, what the hell? And I was kind of surprised by that. And also, you know, when it said on the back here that we're following middle schoolers, I kept thinking in my head, like, these kids read a little bit older than middle schoolers. Like, I would have guessed that they were high schoolers if I had to, you know, say an age, because you know, when you say middle schoolers, at least with America, usually you're talking about kids that are like, what, 12 or 13 years old in middle school. But then one of the girls did say that she was like 15. So I was like, okay, so they actually are kind of like more high school age, which makes sense because some of the things that these kids were like doing and talking about, I was like, what the heck? Like, if they're middle schoolers, that's just crazy. But like, okay, they are a little tad bit older than I thought they were, so that's cool. It's so good. It's so gory and violent and shocking, and I just love everything about this. Like, I'm just having such a good time reading this book.
They've been handy after they equipped themselves and attacked Sakamoshi and the others. Also from a school code pocket. It was the pencil they all used to write the phrase, "We will kill each other."
Hello, what's up? How's it going? It's the next day, and today I've just kind of been driving around getting a bunch of things done that I've been needing to get done, you know, like ordering more contacts at Costco and just going to Target and getting some things for Mother's Day and just doing a whole bunch of, you know, errands. And while I've been doing that, I've been listening to a bit of this on audio. I've only listened to like a few more chapters at this point, but right now I'm actually waiting in the parking lot at the movie theater because I'm gonna be meeting my dad, Rachel, and Obed here to go and see Doctor Strange because it's that day, you know? Also, this isn't relevant or anything, but there's a character named Shogo in this book, and on the audiobook, sometimes I have the speed, you know, up to like 2.6 sometimes, and sometimes when the audiobook narrator's talking fast, he kind of pronounces it like Shuga, which, you know, of course, it's reminding me of Suga from BTS because BTS has corrupted my brain, so now I'm picturing that character as Suga from BTS. So that's the update. It's not really an update, but that's the update. I'm in bed a little bit early tonight because I'm hoping to read a good chunk of this book. As of right now, I am up to chapter 48, which puts me at page 366. So I'm hoping to read, you know, a decent chunk tonight and then maybe even finish it tomorrow. Like, who knows? I'm excited though because now my friends Mike and Marcy are reading the book and they've been like posting in the group chat today. So I'm so excited to be like reading this with friends because, you know, it always makes the experience like 10 times better when you get to like talk about the book with friends while you're reading it. Also, just for fun, I wanted to show you what I was talking about how the audiobook is like slightly different from this physical book that I'm reading because this book is like the remastered version and the audiobook that I'm listening to, I think, is the original version. So I just wanted to show you kind of an example of like listening to this on audio and how the text looks kind of different, but it's still easy-ish to follow. So like this is how this chapter starts, and in this edition the author uses their last name a lot, but then in the audiobook it'll use their first name, so you might hear like different names than what's in the book. So this is it, chapter 48.
Chapter 48. Shogo rose a little after 10 p.m. Shuya had been looking after Noriko, who remained resting in bed. Shuya groped through the nearly pitch-black room and entered the waiting room. "I'll make some coffee," Shogo said as he looked up at Shuya. Then he walked down the hall. He seemed to have good night vision. Shuya returned to the beds, where he found Noriko up without her blanket. "You should rest a little more," Shuya said.
So yeah, I mean, as you can see, just from that, it's just interesting how, like, you can follow along with it, but it's obviously, you know, a little different, and that's why it's kind of hard for my brain to keep up sometimes because I'm trying to follow along with the text, and, like, sometimes they'll switch places with where there's dialogue and where there's just, like, descriptive text. And a lot of the time, you know, in this physical book, the author will use their last name in this book, but then on the audiobook, he'll use their first name. So it's just like little things like that that kind of make it like tricky sometimes with like following along. Honestly, like if I had to choose one, I definitely prefer the audiobook because the audiobook just makes it flow a little bit more naturally, whereas some of the writing in this is just kind of awkward. You know, it's kind of awkward and like hard to read, so I definitely prefer the audiobook. So, I just finished Battle Royale moments ago, and this ending was freaking wild. I was kind of nervous, you know, not gonna lie, because as we were getting towards the end, I was like, where is this gonna go? You know, like, where could we possibly be going? And I was hoping that it wasn't gonna get cheesy, you know, as we got towards the end here. But yeah, not only was it, you know, not cheesy, it was actually like a really solid ending. I'm so impressed by where this book went. I was shocked by the ending. I thought there was like so many good choices towards the end that I wasn't expecting. The epilogue like almost made me cry because it was able to like connect something from like earlier in the book, and like it's just so cleverly written in that sense. Like, oh my god, I just wasn't expecting this book to be like a new favorite when I started it, because you know, I've never been a huge fan of like the Hunger Games or things like that, which is what this book gets compared to a lot. I don't know, I wasn't expecting to love this as much as I did. Like, I think I have to give this 5 stars. Tank really loved it too. Tank was with me for that last little bit, and he just absolutely loved it, you know, like he thought it was a good time. I believe too, I'm pretty sure this is like the only book that this author has written. I do think that there's like a manga series or like a graphic novel version of this book, but as far as I understand it, this is like the only book he's ever come out with. I also, you know, I was talking about this with my friends, you know, Marcy and Mikay, who are also reading this right now, and Mikay was saying how it kind of reminds him of The Troop, which, you know, if you know my reading taste, then you know The Troop is one of my all-time favorite books, and I was like, how did I not make that connection until he said that? Because, you know, The Troop also has, you know, the trope of like a bunch of boys who are on this island and then things are going wrong. It's like very horror, and, you know, The Troop is definitely a lot more graphic, I would say, with its like body horror and stuff, but it definitely does have similar vibes to The Troop. Like, wow, this was amazing, incredible. I'm so glad that I read this book for this video, because I don't know if I ever would have read this book, to be honest. I just probably would have assumed that it wouldn't really be my thing. So I'm so happy that it really was my thing. Like, I enjoyed this so much. What's up? It's the next day, and I'm planning on starting Uzumaki, and I'm so excited about this one. You know, just from this first end paper here, I can tell that this is going to be a wild time. And, you know, all I really know about this, on the back here, it just says that we follow this small town on the coast of Japan that is cursed. And it's something to do with, like, spirals. That's all I really know. Like, the town is contaminated with spirals. I think it's gonna be really cool, really unique. I love how at the beginning, there's, like, a few pops of color right in the first few pages of this. And then it immediately goes to black and white. And it seems like most of the rest of it is just in black and white. But aren't these first pages, like, really beautiful? Like, wow. It's a little bit after 5 o'clock at night, but I have read 10 chapters of this book so far. I'm like about halfway. This book is so fascinating and it's so disturbing. I mean, unlike, the other book Shiver that I read from this author, this one is not a collection of short stories because it's all connected, like it all takes place in the same town, but it does kind of give me like a short story feel to it because each chapter, while we are kind of following like the same characters kind of within the same town, we get like different stories of like how this spiral has impacted people. And there have been some truly disturbing, like really disturbing, gory, graphic, like body horror, like body gore, body violence imagery in this book. I'm just like, oh my god. Like some of it, I'm just like, ugh, I'm like repulsed. I'm about to eat dinner right now and I'm just like not even hungry. Like I lost my appetite completely. But like so far, every single chapter has been amazing for me. Like I've enjoyed every single chapter. Like there are definitely some that are standing out in my mind more than others. But like so far, I'm so impressed by this. Like the first 2 chapters are just called The Spiral Obsession, and it's kind of talking about like what was going on with our main characters. But all these other chapters are called like The Scar, The Firing Effect, Twisted Souls, Medusa, Jack in the Box, The Snail. Like there's all kinds of different things happening in these stories, but it all takes place in the same town. And I'm just loving this so much. Like this author is just, he's on some next level shit, okay? This is like some of the most unique, strange horror that I've ever read. Like, oh my god, this is crazy because if this book ends up being a 5-star book for me, like this reading vlog is going exceptionally well. Like I'm gonna have to read everything that this author has ever come out with because this is incredible. It's just so unique. It's so different. I love how there's like random bits of color that are thrown in here. I'm not totally sure why, because like for even a short story, like some of it was in color and then it changed back into black and white, but I know this one does say that it's like the deluxe edition of this print, so I'm like, okay, maybe they included some color in the deluxe edition. Like I don't really know. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this. It's so good and it's so creepy, but I will warn you, like some of the imagery is a lot. Like it's very disturbing, like very dark, and if you're uncomfortable with like a lot of body horror, it's so much body horror. There's a lot of like with bugs and like gross, just like ugh, like really gross, like bloody, violent, like body imagery. It's a lot to stomach, it's definitely not for everyone. But I don't know, oh my god, I'm just loving it so much so far. Like, yeah. That's lit. Oh, hello, it is later in the night and I'm so excited to let you know that I just finished it, and like holy crap, this book was incredible. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the last few chapters were just okay for me. Like the last few chapters weren't really my favorite. I felt like the book started to lose its steam with how creepy it was, at least for me personally. But there were definitely some really really great chapters in this book. Like once the whole like snails thing got introduced, if you've read the book then you know, but like once that aspect of the book got introduced, I was so disgusted and just creeped out. There were some things towards the end that involved kind of like cyclones or like tornadoes, and I just started to lose interest because I started to feel like it got a little bit repetitive and it just wasn't as creepy. I don't know, it didn't have the same creepy feeling as the first half of the book did, but the first half of this book is so freaking good. Like, I feel like these books are kind of hard to rate, because the first half, I would give this 5 stars, like one of like the creepiest, best horror things I've ever read, because I was creeped out and disturbed, and it's very graphic and violent and disturbing and gory, and it was just incredible. But then the second half, I didn't love as much, but like I would still rate this very highly, I feel like because of how much I enjoyed that first half, I'm giving this at least 4 stars still, if not a 4.5. It just depends on how long this book like stays on my mind, but like I'm sure this book will be staying on my mind. And I feel like I don't know if I prefer this one or Shiver. Like I really love them both for different reasons, and they're definitely both gonna be, on my mind when it comes to recommending horror books. I just love this so much. Like I'm definitely gonna be reading all of the backlist books from this author, because I just looked up on Goodreads. He has a few other horror manga collections like this, so I'm definitely going to be checking those out as well. I think my library does have a pretty good selection of his books, which is just amazing. Who would have thought, you know, that a horror book that's about spirals could genuinely be so terrifying? Like, I never thought I could be afraid of a spiral. Like, that just seems so random, but now I am. Okay, hello. I feel like I've gotten kind of terrible at updating this vlog recently because earlier today I finished listening to Tokyo Ever After. I've just been listening to this one over the past like 2 days or so, and it was a very quick and easy read. The audiobook was only 9 hours long, and I was able to bump up the speed because, you know, it's a cute young adult contemporary, and this book was so cute. It was like the perfect break in between all the like horror and thriller things that I'm trying to read, you know. I just adore this main character, like this main protagonist, this young girl, and the situation that she gets put in. Like, this is so like Princess Diaries. It's very like what a girl wants, you know. It's about how she's going to Japan and like meeting her birth father and kind of getting caught up in like the lifestyle of what it's like to be royal. And there are so many moments in this book that reminded me so much of like the Princess Diaries, specifically like her having to like learn kind of like how to be more like proper and like etiquette, you know, like that whole thing. It was fantastic. And there was also like a really cute romance happening on the side that I was just like here for, you know. I just thought it was like adorable and so soft, and like I would probably give this 4 out of 5 stars. Like, it wasn't a new favorite of mine or anything, but it was so cute, and it's like exactly what you think it's gonna be, you know. Like, it's exactly what it says it's gonna be, but like in a good way, you know. Like, this is like a comforting, like fun romantic book, and I really enjoyed it. Tonight, just while I've been laying here, I actually started on the first 2 chapters of Penance, which is the last final book that I'm going to be reading for this video, which I can't believe. I feel like it's gone by so fast, and even though I'm only 2 chapters into this book, it already puts me at 36% of the way through the audiobook, because the audiobook's only like 7 hours long, and so at this point I'm already 2 hours and 39 minutes into the audio, so I feel like this is going to be a super quick read. But I think this book is so fascinating because it kind of does remind me of Confessions, at least with the way that the story's told, because the chapters are really long. Almost is a little bit repetitive in the same way that Confessions is, but I love the style of storytelling where, you know, we know about a situation that happened years ago. So we follow these like 4 girls, and we find out that like 15 years ago when they were in 4th grade, one of their friends got murdered, and like they couldn't remember, like, because they had seen the man who did it, but they couldn't remember like what he looked like. They just didn't remember the specifics. And so we kind of follow them in each chapter as, you know, they're adults, it's 15 years later, and we kind of get to hear their experience of like how they remember it, and then like something that's happening now in their adult life that kind of triggers things for them that happened back then. And the first 2 chapters were so good so far. The first chapter was told from one of the 4 girls that had witnessed the murder, and then the second chapter is told from one of the other girls of the 4 who witnessed the murder. So I'm thinking the next few chapters are probably going to be the points of views of the other 2 girls that were, you know, witnessing this murder that happened when they were in 4th grade. But I just love the way that this story is told, because even though it does kind of, you know, it's annoying that it's repetitive, right? Because, you know, we're reading about the same scenes basically from a different point of view, but it's interesting how you learn more information or how you get more clues as to what might have really happened based on each girl's different perspective. But I can see how people might be annoyed with this kind of writing style, but like, I don't know, I think it's really good. I think it's really cleverly written so far, so I think I might just lay here and listen to like a few more chapters. I don't know, I think I might try to get to like the halfway point tonight and then maybe try to finish it tomorrow. We'll just have to see, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's freaking fantastic. Okay, hey, hi, what's up? It's the next day. I just finished, like literally seconds ago, I just finished listening to Penance on audio, and like, what the fuck? That was a really good twist at the end that I didn't see coming. That last final chapter, well, the last final 2 chapters were very revealing. Like, there were things happening. I was like, what the fuck? So that was great. It was really good, which, you know, I expected it to be good because Confessions was so good, and it definitely has similar vibes to Confessions. Like, I think if you liked Confessions, you should definitely check out this book because they feel very similar. Like, I feel like the storytelling in them is very, similar. You know, we're following these 4 young girls who they witnessed a murder when they were in 4th grade, and it was one of their friends who was murdered. So it's like we get to see each one of their 4 point of views and like how they handled it, you know, and how they processed it and reacted to it. But it's interesting because more things get revealed about the murder within each chapter, and like you learn more about what was actually going on. And then the last chapter is told from a point of view that I was not expecting, and it was a really interesting point of view to get. And it was just the way it tied it all together at the end. I thought it was really well done. And oh my god, I feel like I have to give this book 4 stars because, you know, as I did say, it was a bit repetitive at times, and like it's not my favorite. It does get a little like repetitive, or you're kind of like, okay, like let's get to the point. But at the same time, like these books are short enough that it doesn't bother me too much, you know, but I feel like I have to give this one 4 stars because I don't think I enjoyed this one quite as much as Confessions. I think Confessions had a few more like tricks up its sleeve, if you know what I mean. But this book was good. It was really good. It was really surprising. The ending was solid. And I do think it's a very similar style to Confessions. So if you liked Confessions, don't sleep on this one, you know? But wow, I think that just about wraps up this vlog. I can't believe that I enjoyed everything that I read in this vlog. Like, it is so rare for me to give 4 stars or higher to every single thing that I read for a vlog like this. Like, what the heck? Japan is truly on some next level shit with like their thriller and horror stuff. Like, I don't know if I just read the best of the best, so I'm just getting like their top tier works, or if they're just, you know, incredible at thriller and horror books. Like, this is amazing. I feel like because this video went so freaking well, I feel like this is one that maybe I should do a part 2 of this in the future, because I know there are so many other, you know, mangas out there. There are so many other thriller and horror books that I would like to read. One of the ones that I was hoping to read for this video is the book The Ring. If you're at all familiar with like the American horror movie The Ring, it actually was originally a Japanese book. And that was one that I was hoping to read in this video, but my library, I wasn't able to get it from my library in time for this. But, you know, maybe in the future, if I did a part 2, you know, that would be a fun one to include, because I've always been curious to read that one too. And yeah, if I do a part 2 of this in the future, maybe you can give me some recs down below, because I feel in my bones, because of how well this went, I feel like I need to do a part 2, because clearly Japanese books are just my thing. Like, they're so freaking good. So yeah, this is so exciting. I'm just so happy that it went as well as it did. Like, how crazy is that? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. You'll have to let me know if you've read any of these 4 books. You'll have to let me know your thoughts on them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.